Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Patlela TL, and guys, I will be helping you today with mathematics. We'll be looking at some of the concepts in trigonometry. And guys, I will be looking at trigonometry. I want to deal with trigonometry on the Cartesian plane. There is a topic of trigonometry where we look at trigonometry on a Cartesian plane. So without waste of time, let's go there. It was question 10, November 2013. They say in the diagram below, the reflex TOP equals to alpha. So this is the angle they are talking about. This is your reflex angle, alpha. And they say P has the coordinates -5 and -12. So if you look at the coordinates of P, it's -5 and -12. So, okay, guys, when you are dealing with trigonometry on a plane, this is the Cartesian plane, right? The coordinates of P represent the x value and the y value. So the value of x is -5, the value of y it's -12. So x is -5, y it's -12. So what you can do, guys, since you have got the coordinates of x and y, what you can do, you can calculate the value of the third variable, which is r. So we are going to calculate r. My advice, when you are dealing with trigonometry on a Cartesian plane, this is the plane, so we are dealing with trigonometry on a Cartesian plane, you must always have x value, y value, and r value. What is the x value? It's -5. What is the y value? It's -12. What is the r value? We calculate the r value using the theorem of Pythagoras. So you should have all your variables. You should have x, y, and r. So let's calculate the third variable, r, using the theorem of Pythagoras. We know that x squared plus y squared equals to r squared. What is the value of x? We said it's -5. So -5 squared plus what is the value of y? We said it's -12. Remember, we took them from the Cartesian plane. -12 squared equals to r squared. Now, -5 squared is 25. If you press calculator, plus 144 equals to 25 plus 144, it's 16. 25 plus 144 is 169. But let me do this. -5 squared is 25. -12 squared is 144 equals to r squared. So 25 plus 144 equals to r squared. So we are going to calculate the value of r. 169 equals to r squared. Then you say the square root of 169 plus or minus equals to r. The value of r is 13. The value of r is 13. R is always positive. So now, guys, you have the value of x is -5. You have the value of y, it's -12. You have the value of r is 13. Now, it's easy to answer any question that has to do with trigonometry on a Cartesian plane. So what I'm going to do, I have cos alpha. So the first question was saying, determine the value of each of the following trig ratio without using a calculator. So they wanted you to find cos alpha. It's easy to find cos alpha. Once you have all the three variables, x, y, and r, it's easy to answer any question of trigonometry on a Cartesian plane. Why? Still remember, we have what we call SOHCAHTOA or SOHCAHTOA, where we say the trig ratio sine of an angle is opposite over hypotenuse. It's sine of an angle, it's opposite over hypotenuse, because O is for opposite, H is for hypotenuse. Now we can even go to cos. Cos of an angle, cos is adjacent over hypotenuse. So we know cos of an angle is adjacent over hypotenuse. Tan of an angle is opposite over adjacent. So tan of an angle is opposite over adjacent. It's very, very important, guys, to use the concept of SOHCAHTOA or SOHCAHTOA, where we say sine is opposite over hypotenuse. O is for opposite, H is for hypotenuse, C is for cos. Cos is adjacent over hypotenuse. Tan is opposite over adjacent. So when we want cos alpha, cos of an angle, cos we know it's adjacent over hypotenuse. So we're going to say, okay, cos alpha equals to x over r. Guys, you have to know that when we talk about adjacent, we talk about the x variable. So let me pull this one up. Let me do something like this. Let me say adjacent represent x. You must know this one. Opposite represent y. You must know this one as well. Hypotenuse represent r. This is always. So adjacent is x, opposite is y, hypotenuse is r. So cos of an angle is adjacent. Remember SOHCAHTOA? Remember SOHCAHTOA? Cos is adjacent over hypotenuse. We say adjacent is x, hypotenuse is r. So cos of an angle is x over r. So cos of an angle is equals to, what is the value of x? We realize that x is minus 5. So we say if cos of an angle is minus 5 over r, which is r is 13. So cos of alpha is minus 5 over 13. Hopefully you got that one, guys. The key concept, my advice is that always have this variable. Always have x, y, and r. Okay, when you have the value of x, y, and r, now again also use what we call SOHCAHTOA, where we say sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Now let's see what was the second question. Cos of alpha is minus 5 over 13. So I'm going to answer the second question. Let's read the second question together. The second question was saying tan 180 minus alpha. The second one was saying we must solve tan of 180 minus alpha. I'm answering this one of tan of 180 minus alpha. So here, with tan of 180 minus alpha, guys, we said something about tan of an angle, like if it was tan, like tan theta. We know tan theta is opposite over adjacent. Remember SOHCAHTOA, it's very important. Tan is opposite over adjacent. From the word SOHCAHTOA, SOHCAHTOA, tan is opposite over adjacent. So we say tan of an angle is opposite over adjacent. But if you can look here, we have got what we call 180 minus alpha. So it's tan of 180 minus alpha. 180 minus a certain angle. Ne? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use what we call a reduction formula. Reduction formula allows you to remove this 180. You'll be left with something like alpha. So this can be tan of alpha. Tan 180 minus alpha is tan of alpha. But we also have to look at the sign. We also have to look at the sign. Remember, okay, I'm going to check if the answer should be positive or should be negative. But by using reduction formula, we just remove 180. We are left with tan of alpha. So we have to check the correct sign. Is it the sign positive or negative? Okay, guys. Now I'm going to check the sign of this reduction formula. I'm going to draw something like this. It's a cast diagram. 0, 90, 180, 270, up to 360. We say all student takes coffee. This T in the third quadrant represent tan. Sorry for that. This T in the third quadrant, guys, this T represent tan, which means that in this third quadrant, tan is positive. So tan is only positive in the first quadrant and also in the first. Tan, because T is on the third, tan is positive on the third quadrant. Remember that tan is positive in the third quadrant, also in the first quadrant, because in the first quadrant, all our trig ratio are positive. This is what the cast diagram is saying. If you can look on in the second quadrant, we have got sine. So sine is positive in the second quadrant. It's only positive in the second quadrant and the first one. The first one is because all of them are positive. Sine is positive in the second, which means that sine in the third is negative. Sine in the fourth is negative. In the first quadrant, all of them are positive. In the second quadrant, sine is the only one that is positive. So tan is positive in the third because T is in the third quadrant and also in the first quadrant. Therefore, the answer, we see that tan, we have to know where it's 180 minus A. 180 minus A, you just put A to be any angle less than 90. I will assume that A is 10. 10 is also less than 90. So you say 180 minus 10, it's 170. 170 is in the second quadrant. So tan in the second quadrant we know is not positive. So the answer is negative tan alpha. So which means that, guys, tan of 180 minus alpha is negative tan alpha, and it's going to be negative. We know tan of an angle, tan alpha, is represented by opposite over adjacent, and opposite we said it's y. Always opposite represent y, adjacent always represent x. How much was y from the Cartesian plane? If you still remember, the value of y is minus 12. So you say y is minus 12, and the value of x is how much? The value of x is minus 5. So the value of x is minus. So this is minus 12 over minus 5. So the answer is negative 12 over 5. This negative cancel this one. So the answer is negative 12 over 5, which means tan 180 minus alpha is negative 12 over 5. Hopefully you guys got something from this trigonometry of a Cartesian plane. My advice, when you are dealing with trigonometry on a Cartesian plane, always solve x, y, and r first, and again use what we call SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA will help you to determine the trig definition of sine. It will tell you it's opposite over hypotenuse, cos is adjacent over hypotenuse, tan is opposite over adjacent. And another thing that is important that you have to know that opposite represent y, adjacent represent x, hypotenuse represent r. Hopefully you guys got this information useful. Guys, please, to motivate me to continue making more videos, please subscribe. I will be making more videos. We will be together helping each other.